Good morning, guys. So, continuing with the classes, today we're going to go to pages 18 and 19 of the book. The point number 7, the moon. Right, the moon, as we said the other day in class, is the satellite of the Earth, okay? Now, the moon is not only the only satellite of the Earth, but as well as the biggest and the largest satellite in the solar system, okay? As a satellite is quite big, all right, that means that when I tell you that Jupiter or Saturn has over 60 satellites, you don't have to think of 60 satellites the size of the moon, okay? They are much, much smaller. Right, the moon is going to have two movements, okay, as same as the Earth. It has a rotation and it has a revolution. The main characteristic of this movement is that both of them have the same length in time. Both of them take 28 days. Okay, that means that the moon takes 28 days in doing a complete rotation and a complete revolution around the Earth. Okay, I'm going to put the laser. Okay, so 28 days for the rotation and 28 days for the revolution around the Earth. Okay, in this case, what we say is that the moon is going to have a lunar month. Okay, and it's a period of 28 days. Okay, and it's calculated from new moon to new moon. Okay, we'll see now the phases of the moon. The phases of the moon are due to the reflection of the sunlight. Okay, the moon doesn't have light. Okay, when we see the moon, it's because it's reflecting the sunlight. Okay, that means that in this case, when we've got a full moon, all right, the light is getting to the moon and then it's being reflected back to the Earth. Okay, so what we see is the whole surface of the moon. In the case of the new moon, it's the opposite. All the light is on the back side of the moon, so what we're seeing is the dark side of the moon. Okay, from new moon to full moon, we've got a waxing crescent, first quarter, okay, and then we've got a waning moon, okay, third quarter, and we go back to new moon. Okay, all these phases last 28 days. So that means that from a new moon to a full moon, we've got 14 days. And from a full moon to a new moon, it's another 14 days. Okay? Always having account that we are always seeing the same face of the moon. Okay? Because the moon has the same period of rotation and revolution. What happens is that it's always the same face of the moon that's looking towards the Earth. So we've got one face that we see and one face that we don't see. All right. Right. Then we've got the eclipses. Okay. There's two types of eclipses, depending on what what we don't see. Okay. So the solar eclipse happens when the moon gets just in front of the sun. Okay, in this moment when the moon gets just in front of the sun, it produces a shade on the Earth where if we are underneath that shade, we don't see the sun. Okay, this is the most common type of eclipse. Okay, it happens now and then, and the thing is that most of the times when it happens, it doesn't have to coincide with Spain, so we don't always see it. Then we've got the moon eclipse. Okay, that's when the sun gets sorry, I've said it the other way around. This is very rare. This is the one that's more common. Okay, when the Earth gets in front of the moon, so the moon should have sunlight, should be a full moon, but instead of that, it's a new moon, and that's because it's the Earth that's shading the moon. Okay. Right, and to finish, we're going to see one of the forces that, or one of the things that the moon produces over the Earth. Okay, and it's the tides. Okay, remind you, the tides are that phenomena in which the water of the seas and the oceans go up and down. Okay, during the day. During the day, we have two high tides and two low tides. Okay, that's due to the movement, okay, of the moon around the Earth and the Earth its own revolution. Okay, so it's more than the movement around the Earth. It's the movement of the Earth. Okay, that produces that the Moon at some points, when it's at the part that's closer of the Earth to the Moon, the attraction of the gravity of the Moon pulls the water up. Okay, so when the Moon is just high in the sky, it means that we have a high tide. Okay, when we've got a high tide in the halfway through in the Earth, what they are suffering is a low tide, and in the opposite side they're suffering another high tide. Okay, whilst the Earth is moving, then where before there was low tides, then later on there will be high tides, and where there was high tide, then there will be low tides. Okay, the same. This is another picture, okay, to explain the same. All right, when the Moon is pulling of the water towards it, in this part of the world, they will be suffering high tides here and here, low tides, and here high tide. Okay. Whoop, sorry. Then, when the Moon, well, the Earth will be moving around, and then the Moon will be here. Here, then, what we will have will be a high tide here and a high tide here. Whilst here, there'll be a low tide, and here another low tide. Okay, and like that during the 24 hours of the day. Okay, right, so hope you understood the Moon, okay, and the interaction of the Moon over the Earth. Now, the same as the day before, the teacher will tell you, will give you some activities to do. All right, you'll have to do them and bring them all done the following day, because whenever I'm back the first day, we will be correcting the activities of the Unit 1. Okay guys, the same as yesterday as well, or the day before, I will upload the video to the Google Classroom so that you can watch it at home if you've got any doubts. See you soon guys, be good.